Transition there. You know what it's like. We're not known for our audio expertise. Speaking of which, please let me know how the levels are. That would be much appreciated. Okay, let's see here. I am just kind of guessing, to be honest. So, what do we have today? Well, here's the thing. I have a folder of images that do not have a home as far as belonging to a particular set of images, random images, let's call them. So for the next couple of sessions, just before the break, we're going to take a look at some of these. Yeah, they're one-offs. I find them, you know, all over the place over the years, and I collect them, and we never really have a chance to just do single images. So I figured, why not? Let's give it a go. Very quiet. I'm very quiet, huh? I don't know why I would be. So that is obviously a problem. This is just an ongoing issue. How I would love an audio person. Bear with me just 1 second, okay, folks? Apologies. This is so unprofessional. Let me see if there's something I can figure out quickly. Audio. Sound levels. Input. Now that's weird. Okay, let's see. Does that help? Please let me know. Hold on a second. Let me just check that myself. You never know. Yeah, let's see here. Just 1 second, folks. Sorry. Really sorry. It's fine for me. It's fine, but is it better than it was? That's the question. That might be as good as it's going to... That's as good as it's going to get, I'm afraid. At least for now. I can turn the music down slightly, so we're not competing. Let me know. Okay, let's draw. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting mixed messages. Some people say the audio is great. Hopefully that resolved it. Okay, let's draw. So, as I said, we have single images, tricky poses. You know what's interesting? I've drawn all of these poses before in my own time offline many years ago. So I'll be very curious to see how they compare. All right, quick sip of coffee. Probably about 15 minutes each, give or take, maybe a bit longer, you know the drill. I hope everyone's doing good this run up to Christmas. It's, let me start the timer. It's just an anxiety-ridden time of year for me. I have arguably one of the hardest people in the world to buy for Christmas. So every year it's just, yeah, it's anxiety on what am I actually going to get my very good and well-deserving wife for Christmas. That is going to be too high. You can already see that. Where are we at? Okay, I'm going to come down a little. Because we really do want to try and get the whole we want to try and get the whole figure on the page, because I think this is one where it really it's the whole image of the figure that really kind of sells the pose. Coffee. Did you leave England? No. I'll tell you what happened. Do I want to bore you guys with the inner workings of my day to day? I had arguably one of the worst nights sleep in a while last night. No rhyme or reason really. Anyway, I had to have a nap this afternoon, and I'm still waking up. Anyway, I was literally up at 4 o'clock this morning going through these old folders of images, which is when I came across these, because I was thinking, okay, what can we draw? Wanted to draw something a little bit different, and just trying to keep things fresh. And anyway, it was going through old folders, and I came across these. I was like, you know what? They feel like they'd be a fun session. So you can thank Insomnia me for these poses. The tea is sitting right next to the coffee, so don't get me wrong. The coffee is a short-term solution. Mark Aurelius, can't wait for Christmas. New Year's Eve, travelling to England. That's right, you are. We'll be seeing you in the new year, or possibly between Christmas and the new year, right? Anyway, now I'm going to pull that upper torso down a bit, just so my proportions look a little bit more correct. So why have I given myself so much real estate here? Well, we go manubrium, clavicles coming up this way. This arm is shooting all the way up here and then up this way to about here, we'll say her hand is. She is holding on to her hair. This is for the benefit of those who don't see the reference. And she's grabbing her own hair up like this. For those of you who have any interest at all, we have a new world chess champion as of today. 18-year-old young lad, Gukesh. Indian kid. Just clinched the 14th game of the 14th and final game of the classical portion of the World Chess Championships to become the youngest chess champion in history. Congratulations, Gukesh. Not that you'll be watching this stream, but you'll be a fantastic ambassador to the sport, and I'm very excited for you and for chess. Truly a remarkable achievement. All right, navel sitting here. Rib cage. Yeah, tricky pose. I'd forgotten. cotton. Coffee is better than tea. Lulu, can you ban Rick, please? Thank you. All right. Rick, you went too far. You've been warned. I'm running out of real estate down here, but just about get on there. And she is sitting on a pillow, which I think is certainly worth suggesting. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller than it is in the reference, just maybe add a bit of drama. Oh yeah, absolutely, Rick. That's the move. That's in my retirement plan. Be the old weird dude playing chess in the park. You know, some of those guys aren't bad. Indefinitely, Lulu. Indefinitely. Well, you know. Or at your discretion. Yeah, we'd miss Rick. We've got to keep Rick around. Keeps things honest. So rib cage coming up. Then yeah, like such a long rhythmical line kind of going through the body, right? Coming this S shape. Want to try and not lose that as we tighten down the drawing. Because you know, those types of subtleties are easily lost. His arm is really pushed into her side, which, you know, this is where you really want to kind of have your anatomy kind of dialed in a little bit, because otherwise very easy to, you know, for it to lose its structural integrity. I think it's actually a little bit more pushed in on the reference. Maybe I need to push in here. Let's see. Leave it where it is for now. Because you push in too far and you kind of break the form, so... I'll push in on this side a little bit. Christopher, hey, how you doing? Quite new to figures, working it out. Question as to if I draw the lower abdomen box as this at this angle to do it as a 3D shape to help with the volume. You certainly can. So what you'll basically be looking at, Chris, is, you know, the side of our form is essentially here, if we're thinking of this in terms of a box, right? And then where you can see the shadow, really, where you can see we go from the lit side of the form here into the shadow side of the form here. This is kind of where the edge of that box is, right? So if we were trying to be thinking strictly in terms of a box, it would probably look something like about that, right? So yeah, look, I'm trying to think in those terms. I'm not always necessarily, you know, drawing it in. But I'm thinking in those terms for sure. I'm going to pull into about here, I think. Now, I'm not really... Fingers sitting about there. Alright, a little bit of a cheat here. So you can probably come over just a tiny bit there. So with that in mind, with that concept in mind, what we were just discussing, Acis is here, right? Sitting right at this point here on the edge of our box, suggesting the pelvis. Iliac crest is kind of going up this way, right? So that tells us that the oblique, and we can actually see it on the reference, the oblique is kind of sitting there, and then we're coming down and into our leg, the foreshortened section of our leg there. Can you guys hear the music okay? Can someone let me know? Yeah, nice attempt at the spelling there, sternocleidomastoid. Yeah, look at the way the light's hitting that. Like, you really get the sense of its kind of rope-like appearance. Yeah, we've still to decide what we're going to do with the lighting on this one. So yeah, tibia coming down this way. Something like that. We are really flirting with the edge of this screen there. Some Twitch chats had a roulette command. If you hit the 1 out of 6 times, you're out for like 10 minutes. That seems a little harsh. Okay, so deltoid is sitting in here, transitioning into our tricep. So yeah, we need to make some decisions on what we want to do with the light in this, because we've got two pretty dominant light sources, both serving the image in a way that kind of makes sense in the reference. But I feel like if we try and do a faithful representation of that in the drawing, then we could end up with running ourselves into trouble. So I think once again I'm probably going to pick a side. The question is which one. I think I'm going to take the cooler light that's illuminating this side of the form, and I might have to cheat a little bit. Let's see, just to kind of make everything work. So you can see tibia, mass for the tibia sitting in here, and the calf kind of just ducking in there. All right, where are we at time-wise? 18 minutes. Okay, we'll go like a few more minutes, you know. Well, I know the feeling, Lily. Yeah. You know, it's like us sometimes. Okay. All right, let's have a look here. I'm not going to spend too much longer on this pose, but just get in a little bit of light and tone. I've noticed on a lot of figure poses they use a rim light. Well, yeah, like we certainly got. Well, the thing is, it's interesting on this pose, isn't it? Because you know, if we look at like, there's certain sections of the arm up on this side. This is all rim light. But then as the form turns, it turns into a more kind of traditional three-quarter light. Here's the thing: rim light is great for drama, but it's inevitably going to mean that 90% of your figure is in shadow. So you'd better be thinking in those terms. And what my suggestion would be, if you want to do a rim light shot, is to put your tonal transitions in the shadow side of the form and let the rim light be without any detail for the most part. It'll make more sense. In that case, yeah, we're going to dominate. We're going to let the shadow side of the form basically relay the information. If that makes sense. Okay, so light source is coming from this direction. So we're probably going to have a cast shadow coming down here. Something like that. Let's just do a little bit of coloring in here, and then we'll move on. You know what? I'm going to put a little bit of light in here. I'm going to put all of this into tone there, and probably most of this leg as well. This is, you know, I was speaking to a student just the other day about conceptual light, and the assumption that he reviews this. So this is a classic situation of using conceptual light, getting rid of, essentially, for all intents and purposes, getting rid of the light source coming from this direction, and focusing on the single light source. So it's kind of in the spirit of conceptual light. It's not strictly, but you know, for the most part. All right. I had a bit of a bags of this one. Not too happy with it. All right, we'll move on. Yeah, not great. Did a better job of this one 5 years ago, whenever it was. So it's nice to know that things have progressed nicely. flogging a dead horse here. Let's move on. I should have to start this one again. Yeah, me too, Canvas. Yeah. Didn't quite go where I wanted that one to go. But such is life. No, I wasn't streaming at the same time when I drew it last time. That's true. Thanks, Lily. That's right. That's the excuse we're going to use. I think it does affect my drawing to some degree, trying to stream and draw at the same time, but not, you know, like I don't know, honestly. It feels like so long since I drew without streaming. I don't even know if I have something to measure it against. Okay, I've reset the clock. Thank you, Canvas. You're too kind. Let's move on. Take what we can get, Lulu. Okay. Mostly, I think your drawing affects your speaking. Probably. So I'm not drawing well, and I'm not communicating well verbally. So it's great, fantastic to know that everything's a success. Reset the clock. Let's go. So this is obviously, for those of you who can see the reference, we have a pretty standard back pose here, or pretty straight on, let's say, not standard. But we want to try and convey as much energy as we can. There's a very, very slight tilt into axis this way. I'm going to try and just lean into that just ever so slightly. And obviously, here's the thing with this model, we can't see her lower torso at all because of the dress that she has around her waist. But we still want to block in enough information so that we're not guessing. The legs coming down this way, down to the feet, down to here, conveniently at the bottom edge of our board. Let's pull that up ever so slightly. Okay. We can just see a tiny bit of the sacrum, sacral dimples. We can just get a hint of them here and here. See our iliac crest going up this way and this way. And obviously we can't see it, but we just, once again, I just want to get a sense of the volume for the buttocks. And yeah, we know our legs coming down this way. Knee is going to be about here. Calf down, foot. All right, that's going to be, that's going to be close enough, isn't it? Okay. Let's find a loose approximation of where our rib cage is. What I like about this image, I actually had to Frankenstein this image because in the original, this was a color photo, but the dress was so dark that you literally couldn't see any of the folds. So I pulled it into Photoshop and kind of just pumped up the light in the dress and kept the, the upper torso where it is. That's why you can see just where the dress and her flesh meet in this section here. You can see a very dark ribbon. That's where I was just a bit clumsy with the not being too careful with lightening it. So the dress is coming down this way, sitting in here, and sitting here. And we got an opportunity here just to do some drapery and a little bit of fun with some folds. We've got what I imagine is the top half of the dress sitting here with what I'm guessing is the strap that goes over her shoulder. Kind of sitting in this area here. We'll just do that for now. Coming down, it's treated as a single large shape to begin with, then we'll subdivide. Coming down this way. Something like that. That'll do us for now. Let me just get in one last. So just right around the halfway mark, we've got a major fold that's coming down this way. A lot of pipe folds that we're dealing with here. Coming down this way, and then as it hits the ground, we got this type of thing going on. And we're going to have a chance to subdivide all of that stuff in a little while. Okay. Cool. Yes, good idea. Let's see. I am I'm tired already. I'll be probably fit for nothing by the time we're done with the stream. But you never know. So this arm is coming back, right? It's coming back towards us this way. Which is quite subtle. Hand is sitting here. Elbow is about here. But it's pushing the scapula in. To suggest that there. Same on this side to a slightly lesser degree. Just a little bit more relaxed. This elbow's just sitting a little bit lower. So it's in the ballpark. Trapezius coming up. Can't see it, but the occipital ridge. We've got our hair. And our hair setting basically across. Something like that. Alright, we've got some refinement to do here, but you get the idea. I'll actually pull this elbow up, these elbows up just a tiny bit. Now that I'm looking at it, I think her upper torso is a little on the long side. Yeah, I think if my rib cage is here, you know, I'm just going to pull everything up just a tiny bit. I'll be able to fix it and tie down, I think. It's kind of going away from us, and this is coming towards us. So got the transition of where like gluteus medius is here going into the oblique, and it's a very subtle kind of transition, but you do want to kind of at least hint at them as two separate ideas. Even that kind of that very small transition there kind of will help, I think. Brachioradialis starting up here. So just look for those opportunities to overlap these shapes. You know the drill. Deltoid coming up this way. All right, I'm getting there. Tricky. Remember, drapery, triangles, right? You're looking for triangles. And then we've got some folds coming in this direction. You guys are hanging in there, okay? She does have this little rope, kind of, or just a little tie or something coming down her back. I'm going to leave it off because I think it's just going to confuse matters. And the hair sweeping across the form this way. This gives us just a little bit of energy, right? Just to kind of, you know, with such a static pose, you'd even something like just some swirls in there, or you know, some direction in the hair can help. Can help kind of just bring a little bit of dynamics. Something like that. Even though we're going to fill it in with tone. This one seems to be all about subtleties. These quiet poses, they require almost like what feels like a completely different set of you know, responsibilities, right? You know, when you've got these heavily foreshortened poses, for example, you know, they're really tough, but for a completely different set of reasons. So yeah, I can completely agree with all about subtlety with poses like this. And the tonal pass on her, or the light on her skin, is very subtle too, isn't it? It's a very soft light. It's almost like it's just like an ambient light in the room. So it kind of is it's a nice touch. It's because it's subtle. So we'll try and get some of that into our drawing too. Just finding some very kind of just very gentle kind of transitions between what's in light and what's in shadow. We've obviously got some, we're going to have to make some decisions about how much of this tone we want to show in the dress, and I'm tempted to kind of pull back a bit, because if we're going to, you know, it's already kind of dark. If you get into a wrestling match with all the shadows as well, I think that, you know, could potentially end up hurting some of the inherent simplicity or gracefulness, let's say, of what's going on in the drapery folds. What pencil is that? Oh, just 6B General's Charcoal Atelier. Konstantin Kozma. Great name. So yeah, just in the spirit of what's going on with the lighting, I'm going to try at least to just to subtle enough kind of tonal pass here. can always pull it down further if we need to, you know. I'm actually going to switch just to a slightly different pencil just to pull in some of the tone and the dress. Taking a few liberties with what's in light and what's in tone, but I'm more concerned with just trying to find some interesting shapes than I am with necessarily a faithful reproduction of what's going on there. Okay, let's just soften up some of this a little bit. We're at 21 minutes, all right. Thank you, Cookie Monster. Appreciate it. Let's go in with an eraser here just a little bit. We need to pull out a few lights that we lost in the melee. Is it better to join through YouTube or through the website? I've already learned so much. Definitely see the value of becoming a member. Chad, there is only the option right now of joining through YouTube. So if you're on a tablet, or no, sorry, if you're on a PC or a computer, you should see a join button somewhere below the video. And if you click on that, you'll see that there's 2 tiers. You can choose which tier you want to join on. And then if you go to, once you're a member, then you go to the community chat and you'll see you'll have a link in the community chat to the reference page that's hosted on my website. So yeah, that's what's up. And I'm really terrible at welcoming new members. And we get several during the week, you know, that join up when we're offline. And I never remember to welcome them when we go live. So welcome all the new members. It's fantastic to have you along. Hope you're able to find everything okay, and I hope in the new year to try and find ways to make it just even a little bit easier again than it already is to kind of find things. And I just need to sit down and make an effort to do that. So let's just punch up just a couple of these lines that have got a little bit soft in the you know, you start doing this. Ah, Chad, you found it. Awesome. Welcome. As I said, if you go to the community chat, you'll find a link there, and you'll see the reference hosted on my website. And draw along. I should probably go in and punch up some lines in this dress, but you know, I'm not going to. See the bloody scratch marks from the pencil right across the drawing there. That's a shame. And you're a serious student, Chad. Okay, so Chad, here's what's up. You may need to go down a few posts in the community chat. If you scroll down, you will find a list to every reference page since the beginning. But that's something that's available to serious students. You will also have access to every live stream since the beginning. So with there being where are we at now? 180 out of roughly 2 hours a piece. That should keep you busy. Should you choose to do some of them. Okay, let's move on to the third pose. So this is one that has featured when I did this one originally. In fact, here's an interesting little factoid about this drawing, or at least for me. There is a time-lapse video of me drawing this from about 2 to 3 years ago. You'll find it on the channel. You'll recognize this image almost immediately, I think, if you see it. I happened to record that one, and as I said, I made a time lapse of it, and I talk over my process while I'm drawing it. So yeah, it's it'll be interesting to draw this one again after all this time. Do you have a Patreon group? I do not have a Patreon, Christopher. I do have there is a Discord channel, and once again, scroll far enough down in the community chat, you'll find a link. And you know, I don't think you have to scroll too far. You'll find a link to the Discord channel. That's the closest. We don't have a Patreon thing. I figure the membership on YouTube kind of covers what Patreon would do, right? So James says, I really recommend going through the earlier streams. James, if I'm not mistaken, you've gone through a lot of them, haven't you? You are you're a glutton for punishment, my friend. All right, let's reset the clock. Give me just 1 second here. I need to. Okay, I'm just going to clean my hand. Yeah, I'd be kind of curious how this drawing turns out. As I said, I was quite happy with the first version of it. Probably not a great idea to be revisiting it, but here we go. Let's give it a go. I've done 91 so far. James, that is fantastic. Wow. That feels like there should be an award or something for that alone. That's impressive. Okay. Wait a minute. That's a lot. That's probably close to 200 hours. Okay. What I like about this pose, what I think is interesting, is the rib cage is kind of going away from us, and so is the pelvis. So we've got this kind of, and I mentioned this in the video as I recall, we've got this midway point around the navel, which is probably the point of the upper torso that is closest to us. So it's something that we want to be mindful of. You know, I don't do it often, but it is interesting revisiting old poses. You know, there are a handful, and you know, I think, as I said at the beginning of the stream, I've got a folder, and we are obviously only, you know, we're only tackling a few of them today. So I think next week we're going to tackle another few from that same folder. Just one-off poses that don't really have a home in the regular kind of proceedings, if that makes sense. I've always tried with the streams to, you know, have sets which are all the same model, obviously for a particular session. I do think maybe in the new year we might, well, I know we've got a few things we're going to do in the new year, but that's something else we might mix up too, is not just focusing on a single model in a single session. Let's see, I need to think about how that would be, because there is something to be said for the uniformity of it. But anyway, pectoral. Just very loosely get the mass of the breast in there, coming down. What we spoke to earlier about the side of the form, if we're thinking in box-like relationships, you know, ASIS is here, right? So we can see with the iliac crest going up this way, this is kind of like the edge of our box as it turns in space, then coming around to the front, flat front section here, etc. Inguinal ligament coming down this way. These legs obviously coming towards us, foreshortened. Calf coming in, and then the foot sitting there, which is kind of obscured from view. And this hand, so we need to be mindful of that. Wrist is sitting about here, hand coming down and sitting on top of ankle there, and thumb coming down this way. Okay. Something like that. Mila, you should, where you go to somewhere on my page, it's going to say perks. And I believe if you click on that, you'll see the 2 different tiers. And you can switch tiers, I believe. I've never done it. I've had this question asked a number of times, but I've never joined my own channel. And I've never joined anyone else's channel. And so I'm actually very... And yeah, it's one of those weird things. I'm not in a good position to guide people on the best way to do that, and I really should be able to, because obviously it's my channel. I can try and figure it out, offline, and I can let you know if you're struggling to find it. But it should be there as an option when in the same area as where you joined initially. So we can't see this hand. It's obscured by some drapery. So we'll just... Oh, it's kind of convenient, isn't it? And then we've got shrubbery as well, but we're gonna leave the shrubbery out of it. I don't think we need to get into that. I'm just going to suggest the drapery there. That's good. This shoulder kind of going down this way. No bleak is sitting in there, obviously, in this region in here. Brachioradialis. Sitting in there. No, I haven't done a very good job with this arm. I think it's sitting a bit lower, isn't it? Alright, let's fix it. So, it's really just a case of pulling this down a little bit, I think. And you can pull this up a little bit, and it'll be fine. It's too small. All right, so keep going here. Sorry for all the questions. I draw lots of other things and use negative shapes a lot. Is it helpful to use them, or should I follow the line and form and not try? No, absolutely. I think negative shapes are a really useful form of measurement, Christopher. And I use it because obviously I'm not doing the whole site size thing. I'm using negative shapes as part of my measurement process. You know, little things like, you know, what is that negative shape, for example, in here. Obviously they're all over, but they're as much a part of the measuring process as anything else. But I think that more importantly is to be trying to think volumetrically and structurally, not to be just copying a series of lines sitting in space. Because if you think too much about negative shapes, what happens is you end up just trying to copy a series of shapes that you see. And we're trying to actually think about volume and mass and trying to think in a more sculptural way, if that makes sense. So yes, they're absolutely important as part of your process, but don't let it be your only measuring process, if that makes sense, in my opinion. All right, let's continue here. Where will we start? So I think, you know, overall, the bones of the drawing are kind of in place. All right, so once again, getting back to this, what we know to be true. Iliac crest is here. Asus is sitting here. Oblique has to be sitting on top of that. So we're coming up to the transition when we meet up with the arch of the rib cage. And meeting up with the volume of the breast sitting in there. And please don't ever apologize for asking questions. Questions are important. And this is the place to ask them. Yeah, Chad's on the money. Chad knows what's up. Okay. So we've got foreshortened legs here. and then they are obstructed. Obviously, we've got this leafage and business in front of our knees. I'm not going to draw that stuff. It's an unfortunate byproduct of the environment she's sitting in, but in an ideal world, the photographer would have, at least in my opinion, removed that stuff. Anyway, I'm not going to draw it. You know what's interesting is look how much real estate there is between the navel, and as we come down this way and down to the pubic bone. It's crazy. Like obviously, as I said, the navel is kind of the point on the form that's closest to us, but it is amazing, like the distances, isn't there? Like, so you can picture the rib cage sitting in there, and we can stand, you know, with our ASIS sitting here, we can kind of, even though it's very, very faint because our model is so lean and so stretched out, but we can get a sense of where the oblique is sitting in here. Same on this side, really. And we're going to kind of like, at least I'm going to kind of put a bit more emphasis into these shapes than we're seeing on the reference, just to kind of bring some structure and some form and turn of shape into what we're seeing. Interestingly, so the oblique is obviously starting here, coming in this way, and we've got this no fat pad really to speak of. She really is as lean as you can really be, right, from within healthy ranges. Coming up, rib cage, and then the latissimus sitting there, and we've got this lovely little transition where the pectoral meets up with the arm. Oh, the coracobrachialis sitting in this area here, which is probably, and you know, I love to talk about the little fat pad that we all tend to have in this area that I don't think gets enough love or attention, let's say. But it makes for a really lovely transition as we move into the upper arm. You see that pectoral, just, it's like a pinch right there. Manubrium, clavicle. All right. Coming down, deltoid, going behind the form there. Bicep revealing itself in this section. And once again, brachioradialis coming down. Coming down to our wrist and then very conveniently behind the drapery. How nice. Saves us a couple of minutes. Of course, the trade-off is that you have to draw some drapery, but you know. Whitney, how you doing? What is the meaning of life? I don't know. Maybe there is none. It's Christine. Oh, Whitney, your name is Christine. Well, hey, Christine. I try to remember the names of people. Obviously, people's usernames on YouTube is, for the most part, is generally people don't use their own identities, their day-to-day identities. I do try to remember, but I'm not always on the money, so to speak. So apologies if I get it wrong in the future, but I do try. So I'm putting in, once again, it's almost a transition you can't see in the reference, but I'm putting in this graphic motif for where this, basically where we go from the lit side of the form into the shadow side of the form here. And this is something that I've just kind of got used to doing as an idea, and it seems, at least to me, to be quite a nice way to represent that idea. So, you know, if you see something like that and you don't see it on the reference, there's usually a method to the madness. Usually, not always, but you know. All right, we're getting there, slowly but surely. Daniel can't believe that the meaning of life is to contribute to human emancipation, which can be done in many ways. I think that, Rick, I think that is. I didn't really want to get too philosophical, you know, but yes, look, like, but is that the mean? Is it, I don't know if it's the like, you know, I like the idea, just in very simple terms. I like the idea of having hopefully left something behind that contributes to the conversation in some meaningful, positive way. But is that necessarily the meaning of life? Those could be two different things. I don't know. But I'm not a philosopher. I'm just here, I'm just going to try and draw. That's all I can do. When you start thinking about the enormity of the universe and all that comes with it, the meaning of life starts to feel quite an absurd question. But then again, we can only control what's in our grasp, right? Like at the end of the day. So I don't know. Whatever gets us through the day, really. I'm not too displeased with this sketch. I think dare I say it, I almost feel like this is as good as the first time I did it. And I'm at the risk of sounding like I'm bragging, which hopefully I'm not. But my point is, I'm afraid. I'm at that point in the drawing where I'm a little bit afraid to go too much further, for fear of screwing it up, to put it delicately. So I think I might leave it there. Where are we at? We're at the 30-minute mark. We're literally just coming up on 30 minutes. That one was definitely an exercise, you know, in its own right. I think I'm going to leave it there, guys. You could continue. I think this is definitely a case of where I would be thinking strongly about going, once again, the conceptual light model, because just lighting this portion of the form, well, I guess you could follow the light pattern in the reference, but I don't think it's necessarily the ideal light source. But I think maybe we've got enough information in this drawing, you know. So yeah, I'm quite tempted to kind of leave it where it is before I screw it up. Let's do that. All right. Tough one. I'm a little looking on the screen there. I'm a little long in the torso. I don't think I've done enough justice to the dynamics of the pose. Yeah, when I look at it on the screen, on the monitor, that really does, that tells me more about what's really going on. Okay, it is what it is. Okay, we are moving briskly on to landscape mode. I think Lulu needs a timeout for that question. I think you could very well be right. If you wouldn't mind, Lulu. Do what needs to be done. Okay, let's. That's a tough one for sure. I like those types of exercises. You know, there was a lot of foreshortening to kind of you know, to contemplate there. This one. Now, for those of you who like very clear, simple statements about what's in light and what's in shadow, if this next pose doesn't satisfy you, then I don't know what to say. The lighting could not be more clear. All right, let's continue. Just kind of take 1 minute here, just to reset, just for a second. Don't do that, really. That sucks about the newspaper arriving folded, Mila. You'd have every right to send it back, you know, and buy it, purchase it from someone else. That's not acceptable that they fold it like that. What a mix of poses today. Hey Heather, yeah. So I don't know if you were here at the beginning, but basically the next couple of sessions, these are kind of like this is like that junk drawer that you've got, you know, where it's like it's full of bits and pieces. None of these have sets. They're all just kind of single images, which I like, and I think that the poses are worth drawing. They're obviously, it's just not the same model. So yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag, but it's a bit of fun, right? And you know, we're coming up to the holidays, and we'll take things a little less seriously. And I've got more for next week too. And then many of these, as I've said earlier, many of these I have drawn in the past. And this one I haven't. But it's nice to revisit some, you know, some of the hits. Richard Pets is bored like a dog. Where is Penny? She's been awfully quiet. Makes me nervous. Oh, she's such a good girl. What size are you using in this? These are both, well, both vertical and horizontal. This is A2. Yeah, that would be A3. A4 would be 4 of these. Yeah, so this is A2. And for this size, or for this intensity of charcoal, this tends to be a nice size. And I would encourage those of you who especially are starting out to draw on the slightly bigger side. Give yourself the real estate to be able to work on an idea and not be you know, trying to draw a lot of detail in a very small space. Give yourself the geography to be able to move your arm. Okay, let me reset the clock. Let's go. Where are we at? It's 20 to 7. Sorry, hold on, I'm hitting the brakes just for a second. I just want to see what we have left. We have 2 poses. Okay. Let's see how we do. We may end up not getting to our 5th and final pose. We can add it to next week's proceedings. Got some really lovely sweeping rhythmical ideas here. This is a good idea to measure with that negative shape. What is the overall negative shape in here, right? In this region here, kind of gives us a sense of where we should maybe be placing our arm. So this gives us a kind of hard to see, well, no, actually not too hard to see, but obviously iliac crest is coming down this way, then we're coming across the form like this. Ace is sitting around here. Excuse me. Okay, give or take, right? Iliac crest coming up this way. Something like that. You can see our rib cage sitting roughly in here. All right, sides to go. Pectoral coming across here. Okay. Yeah, variety's a bit of fun, right? I agree. Dodge the face hugger cosplay post, maybe for this week. But I'm gonna add it to next week. Well, I've got two of them actually. I've got another one that's quite similar. I have never drawn that one, so I would like to draw it. So we will bring it back into the fold. Pectoral sitting here. Arm sitting here. Can't see the other arm. Okay, if our navel is roughly here, come across, our knee is about here, right? And then going down. Guesstimating going on right now. We'll just get something on the page as a placeholder. We can always fix it. using Conte pencils, but they keep breaking. Is that a dodgy pencil, or you're pressing too hard? Could be either. Look, I break pencils too. I don't think any of us are immune from it, but I would suggest if they keep breaking, like I'm barely touching the surface of this paper. Might be something to consider. Coming down, iliac crest is sitting here. And then this knee coming up this way. Once again, what's that negative shape in here? Right. Could be a useful one. Also, where's the where's the top of the knee in relationship to the shoulder here? Yeah, we're about here, right? Give or take. At least get us in the ballpark. So yeah, honestly, because charcoal is so sensitive. I don't like, at least for me, textured paper just becomes crazy quick. I do prefer the fact that smooth newsprint gives you, it's harder to get in trouble. You know what I mean? That makes sense. Because charcoal on a textured paper, the noise factor goes up just massively. I don't think I'm pressing too hard. Could be a faulty battery. Could very well be. Yeah, they can shatter for sure. All right. I'm actually going to get cracking on the meat of the subject, so to speak, just because of time. So let's see here. Now we're working really in the shadows here. We can get a general sense of what's going on. Oblique coming up into the rib cage, sitting in here. Can't see a lot of what's going on in these shadows. They're simply too dark. I'm going to hazard the guess there's a fat pad there. As we see a lot with poses like this, where the deltoid itself is actually the thinner part, and then it's because of the compression on the arm, tend to get that type of effect. Now we got some striking light and tone on this one. So I want to try and get to that as quickly as I can. And then we got our oblique sitting in here. Coming down. All right, let's keep going. You know what? I'm going to push this over a little bit this way. Yeah. I think that will work better. Okay. Yeah, look, Canvas, I agree about the acid. You look, newsprint is not archival, but I also think that it's looked after and kept out of sunlight. You know, newspaper could last potentially hundreds of years. It doesn't necessarily. It doesn't. You know, it's not given that it turns to powder. I've got drawings sitting here that are 10, 15 years old, which are absolutely the same as the day that they were drawn on. You know, put under UV glass. There's no reason why newsprint couldn't last decades comfortably with no ill effects. Now, yeah, leave it in the back seat of your car, or frame a piece without UV glass and have it in a sunny window. It's going to yellow. But even with that, let me tell you, because I have one actually up there that suffered from that exact fate. They yellow to a point and then they stop yellowing. And if you don't mind the little bit of character that the yellow gives, it doesn't necessarily have to be a deal breaker. Well, maybe this is just a coping mechanism for me because all my drawings are done on joint. Okay, I'm going to get into the light and tone of this subject because we are already running over. Well, we're coming up to a time, but I think we're looking at another 10 minutes here, probably comfortably. So let's keep cracking forward, huh? Because I think we really need to get into the light and tone of this particular subject. Because the lighting is so striking on this pose, it would be absolutely criminal to stop now. So if you're all good with going a few extra minutes, I think that's what we'll do. All right, let's find some, well, I don't need to find some core shadows, and I certainly don't need to make up any kind of conceptual light. The lighting, as I said, could not be clearer. Nice cast shadow coming off the breast there, and then into the turn of form for the rib cage. Just try and keep things real straightforward. Trying to resist the temptation of just, you know, doing a core shadow all over the place at the same intensity. Trying where the form gets rounder, that core shadow is going to be softer. So, you know, trying to mix it up a little bit. Very kind of graphic shapes with this tone. Really lovely. Once again, great cast shadow under here. Pencil I use for my tone. Okay. And I think we probably do want a little bit of cast shadow Just very simple under here. Just to kind of plant her. Look at this shadow. For those of you who have access to the reference, but look at this shadow, the cast shadow that's coming off the form. It's beautiful. Kind of ties it around, doesn't it? All right. All right, just a couple more minutes here, and I think we will call it. Is the audio low? Apparently so, Daily Doodle. Apologies. Yeah, I don't know why. Audio gods have decided that that's the case. I'm probably not talking too loudly today either. That's probably something that's happening. Apologies for the audio. What a fun pose, huh? And just, you know, kudos to whoever lit, or to the photographer, I'm guessing, who lit this reference, because they did a superb job, in my opinion. Really, really fun to draw, and it's just so nice when there's clarity to what it is that you're meant to be doing. It's definitely a fun pose to draw. All right, guys and gals. Oh, I think we can be pleased enough with that. But you know, what is it? 27 minutes, 30-minute pose. That's not terrible, is it? We'll take it. You could go further, you know, you could really kind of dig into the darkest darks in a situation like this, and I don't think it would hurt the drawing at all. In saying that, This seems like a pretty good place to call it, huh? All right, guys. What a nice way to finish the proceedings. And so here we are at the end of stream 180. Holy moly. And next week will be the final, I believe it's next week. Yeah, that will be the final stream of the year. And then I believe we'll be back on the 2nd, I believe. And yes, next week we will hit some more of this mixed bag of poses, so to speak. Bit of fun. Maybe we'll throw in. Let's see. I'll go through the folder and I'll pick some nice ones. And we'll finish pose 5. I'd like to do that one next week as well. So for those of you who want, I'll leave it up for now. For those of you who'd like to do it, but I will plan on putting that one in next week's set, I believe. So yeah, that's that's all from me, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. If you feel so inclined and you haven't already, apparently hitting the like button is a nice thing to do. I'm not sure if it helps, but there you go. All right, guys, what is it? It's Thursday. Well, weekend's around the corner. Have a fantastic weekend. And as usual, most importantly, look after yourselves, and I will see you next week. Cheers, guys. Take care.